Hello and welcome. I'm Joy Williamson-Lott, Dean of the University of Washington Graduate School, home of the Office of Public Lectures. I want to thank you for joining us for the Graduate School Digital Series, Sexually Speaking, with UW's very own Dr. Pepper Schwartz. In this 5-part short series, Dr. Schwartz will answer questions on love, relationships, and of course, sex. There should be a little something for everyone, we hope. And now a little bit about Dr. Schwartz. Dr. Pepper Schwartz is professor of sociology at the University of Washington. She received her BA and MA from Washington University in St. Louis and her PhD from Yale University. She is past president of the Society for the Scientific Study of Sexualities and past president of the Pacific Sociological Association. The American Sociological Association has given her the award for Public Understanding of Sexuality and the Simon and Gagnon Award for Distinguished Work on Sexualities. She is the author of 25 books and over 50 academic articles. She was the Love, Sex, and Relationship Ambassador for the AARP for over a decade, and for the last 7 years has appeared as a relationship expert on the Lifetime television program Married at First Sight. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here and looking forward to answering your questions. So here we go. I think it's truly interesting that COVID-19 has been transformative for some people, because you have so much time isolated to think, or just time, period, to reconsider who you are and what's important to you. And under those circumstances, some people like yourself have said, maybe I'm not who I thought I was, or this small part of me is actually the main part of me. And I want to change my life. So in this case, you're trying to think, well, maybe I'm not heterosexual. COVID-19 has put a lot of people in front of computers a lot more, and you can go online and go to gay sites, go to bisexual sites, go to women seeking women who are just seeking new information about themselves. I mean, there's so many sites to allow you to put a foot in the water, to talk to other people who are gay, to talk to other people who are, maybe in the same circumstance you are, trying to see what their real sexuality and romantic attachments are, and go on those sites. Sometimes you can also lurk. You can go on, but just not talk to anybody in the beginning. See what the conversation is, see what excites you, see what interests you, see what draws you, and then follow that thread so that, ultimately, as the light in the end of this tunnel reveals itself and we get vaccinated and we can get back out again, maybe you'll be emotionally ready to pursue this new vision of yourself as a homosexual person. A tough question. And another question that's very common, which is in a same-sex relationship, one person wants to get married because they admire the institution. The other person doesn't want to get married because they don't like the heterosexual origins of the institution, the gender prescriptions of the institution, the legalities with the state that they don't want to have messed up in their romantic life. There's a lot of reasons to object to marriage, and there's a lot of reasons to want marriage, right? The important thing is that you can ultimately tell that other person that they could be as secure in your love without marriage as with it. If they can't be convinced of that, then that's the issue, I think. How do they feel loved and secure? What could you do for the person who doesn't want marriage to make them know that you love them as much as they need to be loved? One suggestion might be to have a commitment ceremony and make it public. Have all your friends, give your vows to each other as lovers and people who intend to be together for the long-term future. And do a ceremony that gives that sense of public acknowledgement of who you are together. I think that can sometimes do the trick. The thing is that there's something that's making your partner insecure, and there may be other things besides marriage that will make them feel like that commitment is equal to, and therefore marriage is not necessary. I've done a lot of research on bisexuality, and I have often heard no one's bisexual. They're gay and they don't want to admit it, or they're straight and they're being experimental. I've heard that so many times I can't even repeat those again. The fact is that people are bisexual. Maybe that's not the usual, but it's certainly the possible. I have certainly seen life histories where people made strong connections to one sex, and then strong strong psychological and romantic connection to another sex, and have been purely authentic in that. I can think of a friend of mine who was in a lesbian relationship for a very long time, and then that ended, but it was a very long time, like over a decade. And then it just happened that the next person she fell in love with and is still with is a guy. She didn't give into any kind of pressure to be heterosexual. It's not who she is. She's just the kind of person that when she falls in love hard, and it could be one gender or the other. It could be one sex or the other. Just because most of us aren't in that equally attracted, equally able to attach spot doesn't mean some of us aren't authentically bisexual. Yes, they are. I believe it. I've done probably several hundred research interviews on this topic, and I know that not everybody's running from one designation and covering up with the other. No, for some people, they are bisexual, and I think they've started to organize around that and say, accept my authenticity. This is me. This is who I am. I think there are some men who crave larger women. There's actually sites for men looking for big women because they like the ampleness, the breast, the butt, the whole thing. They love it. In our society, of course, we're supposed to have zero body weight, so maybe the majority of men are trained to look for that. But I also think people fall in love and lust with individuals and not just categories. I also think it's how you feel about yourself. It's interesting. In recent times, I've been around a lot of Latin women, a lot of African American women, a lot of Caribbean women, and bodies are bigger, and they just, not for all of them, of course, but there's a taste for bigger women, and these women will often wear very tight-fitting clothes that show off this ample butt and show off this ample midriff and show off this ample breast and love me and take me as I am, and they are sexy because their attitude's sexy. If our attitude is ashamed of our body, it doesn't help us. It doesn't help us be beautiful and be sexy. But if we say, I'm big and I am beautiful and look at all I've got, and we believe it. And sometimes it takes a lot of self-encouragement to believe it. It's infectious. It's sexy to the person who sees that confidence and that body being just shown off as opposed to hidden. Different groups have different norms about what's beautiful, but I often feel it originates in your head. And if you can broadcast sexual confidence and desire, then somebody will be there to receive it. Well, there are some men, way more men than women, who have fetishes. That is, they need a certain kind of butt, or they need certain kinds of breasts. And I suppose the question would be, in your case, why did he marry you when you had the breasts you have? Why does he feel now you have to have different breasts? What's going on here? Is it really the breasts? Or is it something about his hitting a certain age and feeling like he should have everything he wants? I don't know. I don't know what's motorizing this particular thing now as opposed to when he met you, fell in love with you, and became your husband. You had a certain kind of breast then. As far as the surgeries, for the most part, they're safe, although anytime you go under anesthetic has some risk to it. But the vast majority of people do use anesthetic and don't have trouble. But the whole idea of going into surgery for breasts you don't really want. I know women who would be dying to have somebody pay for it because they'd love to have the big breasts that they don't have. But you're not one of those women. And there's a certain, protectiveness I feel for you to think of you undergoing surgery for something you don't want and only your husband wants. And it's not exactly something that you need to be sexy. If he is being rejecting to you and feeling that he's projecting at you that he's no longer interested in you without these breasts, I worry if something deeper is going on. And you could go through surgery and have these breasts and he'd still, after some point, wouldn't give you either the attention or attraction. Maybe he'd want something else and something else and something else. I would think long and hard, not just with yourself, but maybe with a therapist, maybe even relationship counseling about this before I went and had surgery and put my body or put your body through that. A lot of men go online all over the world searching for something that will make their penis bigger because they've been brainwashed into thinking bigger is better. But what I often try and say is one finger with a woman used effectively can bring her to orgasm. And there are very few penises that are smaller than a finger. There are some people with testosterone deficiency. They might go and take a look at that. There are people who have microphalluses. That's a more difficult situation. But I remember a guy once telling me, I can please any woman no matter what penis size she wants because I carry a whole bag of different penises with me and we can play with them. In other words, he had dildos and things like that he would use with his partner. And his imagination and his creativity made him a very sexually pleasing partner. And he had, I actually don't know how big his penis was, but he didn't, whatever it was, he didn't rely on it. He thought of sex as something that he creatively brought to a sexual relationship that made him a very exciting and interesting lover. So part of it is how penis-centered you are. All this to say, I have heard of some things that maybe make a penis harder. and therefore seem longer because more blood is getting into it. I think people who are interested in that should talk to medical science. But as far as I know, in any serious way, they're the only things I've heard of, and I'm not going to go further than this because it's getting into a medical environment that I may not know what the latest things are. There are inserts and things one could do. I don't know if they stay as hard. I don't know if somebody can orgasm the same way with them, etc. So this is really someplace to go to a reputable person in sexual medicine, internist, proctologist, whatever you have good access to find out if there's any new science in this. But I would say in general, if it's about pleasing a woman, there are many ways to do it without a big penis. In homosexual world is a different thing because there's a lot more, I think, penis-centered sexual play that does make this the biggest game between two guys. So again, I would go to medicine to see if there's anything out there that I don't know about. Well, I'm really sad to hear it, both for your being unattracted to your husband, but also for him basically saying, I'm not going to do anything about this, when obviously you've said to him that you are less attracted to him now as a fatter person than you were before. There is a lot to do with taste. We're attracted to one person and not another person. We were attracted to each other for the way they looked. And sometimes that person changes, sometimes no fault of themselves. Maybe they just get older, but we do look different over time. And we either adjust to that or we don't. Getting older is something we can't do much about, except, we can fix ourselves up and look better. But unless we have extraordinary surgery, we're going to look like a different version of ourselves. And we hope that our partner will like that. But I believe we should always care about what our partner likes or be not surprised if they don't like the way we look when we haven't made an effort to look great. If your partner has become much, much heavier, it sounds like, than he was before, and you still care about him, it sounds like he's willing to take the consequence of you're not being physically interested in him more. And for most people, that would be a very big consequence. Nobody should be forced into having sex with their partner just because their partner wants it. It should always be a mutual act. In marriage, in a committed relationship or a dating relationship, doesn't matter. It should always be a mutual decision of consent. And if you stop giving consent, that would be a big cost if I were the other person. So the question is, if you are withdrawing, why isn't it a cost to them? It might be that he just feels he can't he can't change the weight. I believe that it is hard to lose weight. And I also understand that people often give up because it's so hard to do it, particularly if it's gotten so out of hand that a person is much larger than they used to be. But the fact is, you like what you like. You turn on to what you turn on. You're not alone, by the way. I have gotten other letters or women coming up with me with the same thing, that their partner has put on so much weight or isn't taking care of themselves in ways they used to, and they're turned off and they don't want to be involved. I think maybe what I would suggest to you is to go into marriage counseling. to get some of these things said with a third party there to negotiate between you, to see if they can get support there for understanding why your partner is willing to lose you as a sexual or romantic partner, even if you're there as staying in the marriage. And maybe there can be some breakthroughs in counseling so that they might be willing to do some work and you could support them in that hard work of losing weight. I'm not asking you to change your sexual tastes. It's not all within our power. It's not like turning on and off lights. We turn on to what we turn on to. But the question is, are the consequences great enough, i.e. withdrawal from sexuality or romance, for hurting what sounds like a really good relationship? Otherwise, it sounds like it could. And it seems to me it's worth the work of going into counseling about the relationship. And within that, I am sure that the weight will become a central focus. But you're not forcing him into a gym, you're forcing him into relationship counseling. And hopefully that might lead to a gym.